So we're almost to Christmas. I decided to get out my biker Santa gear and show you guys my next video. Just kind of trying to get in the season here. So I was trying to think of what to show on this video, and I thought, why not show a couple ways you can make DIY Christmas ornaments. So that's what I did, and what we came up with was a few variations, a couple different ways to make these. And so take a look at this video. I'm going to show you how it's done. One reason I decided to make several different ornaments here is I know not everyone has a CNC machine. So not everybody can do the exact same thing I'm doing. I wanted to give a couple different options so that even if you didn't have a CNC, you could make a craft based on this video. So we're going to begin by making one out of the CNC. Now, the nice thing about this is it's really easy to cut the exact shape. I can cut a pocket out of the middle, and as you'll see here in a little bit, we're going to do something with that pocket. But that's a little bit more difficult to do when you're just doing it with traditional tools. So let's start with a CNC and see how it turns out. When cutting out on a CNC, you have to leave some tabs in there to keep everything together while it's cutting. Otherwise, it'll bust loose and then it'll end up breaking your bit. So we're just gonna cut these tabs out and then sand them flush so that everything looks good and you can never even tell they were there. Now we're gonna get started on the second ornament. For this, I just drew a star on the same piece of wood, and I went to my bandsaw and I'm just going to cut it out. Now, I have a Ryobi bandsaw. I know there's a stigma with those. I don't use the bandsaw very often. It was inexpensive, and people should not get hung up over what brand of tools they are. If you are just getting your shop started out, it's okay. As long as it makes the cut safely, you should feel fine using that tool. I don't really I know they're inexpensive, but that's part of the reason that they're desirable for hobbyists and stuff. So don't get hung up on that. Don't let people try to talk you into buying some $500 bandsaw when you really only need a $100 bandsaw. Now, this saw, does it always track the nicest? No. But once you learn how to cut with it, it works just as good as any other bandsaw, or at least is good enough for our use. So if you feel you need a better tool, you know, feel free to get one, but I just encourage you not to get hung up on brand names and things like that, as long as it gets the job done safely. So that's my little rant on why people should not, beat people down for having certain brands of tools. So we're going to cut this out and then we're going to move on. So my initial idea was to create a duplicate of what I made on the CNC machine. And so I begin here by trying to make an inner area. I'm just measuring an offset from the outer edge of the star in 1/8 of an inch the whole way around. And my intentions were to carved that out with a rotary tool, and that just wasn't going to go very well. It was really slow going, and I decided to get out some carving tools, like just some old traditional wood carving tools. I am not a wood carver. I mean, it works kind of like a chisel, so it's not that hard to use, but I don't have a lot of experience in that area. However, I did think it was probably going to help remove the center area a lot quicker, and I was right, it was. But what ended up happening is I accidentally busted the sides out. So I didn't know what to do. And so I'm just showing you everything here because I like to just be just completely transparent when I make these videos and show you mistakes. And when I pivot to a different idea, I'm going to show you why I pivoted and what I come up with. So what we do is I ended up, after I screwed this thing up, I decided to just give it a hand carved look. So kind of use a gouge and gouge out areas and leave these kind of this carved look that you'd see in like kind of a rustic type of project or final product. And I had some problems because I made a big mistake and had that knot sitting right in the center. So it took a lot of work to get that knot out. Once I was done, I thought it wasn't quite the look I wanted. So I decided to get a torch out and just torch it and give it a burned, charred look. I like that a lot better. After I did that, I noticed that a little bit of it was a little bit too charred. So I went back to that gouge tool and just reapplied it and worked it a little bit and cleaned up a little bit of the char to give some of the wood color underneath some exposure. So that's what I ended up coming up with. Would I do it again like that? Probably not. I don't know. But it was something fun to do, something fun to try, and something I could show you guys. So another idea I had, and I was thinking about doing it, was to actually just drizzle epoxy all over the top of it and let it run down the sides. I thought, well, it's going to kind of make a mess. And I've done stuff like that before. I wanted to try something different. So this is what I came up with. And, it's not perfect, but it was still kind of fun to make. So now we're going to go back to the other star that I cut out on the CNC. I'm just going to hit it with a stain here. And this is, I think it's called aged wheat. And it's made by Varathane or Varathane. I'm not sure how you pronounce that name. But I thought it would kind of give a rustic farmhouse type of look. So I don't know. I thought it would look good on a Christmas tree with that color. So that's why I picked it. No other reason other than that. So I'm going to stain this thing. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to fill it with an epoxy. And what I decided was I was trying to figure out a color. I thought I just kind of wanted some muted colors. I didn't want like a bright red or a bright green. And so I decided to just go with a white and gold pigment in there, and those both had like a metal flake look to it, so there's a little bit of a sparkle to it. And I can put the names of those down in the description. They were both black diamond pigments. One was I think it was called pure gold, and the other one was a white. I forget. I'm sorry. They'll be down in the description though, so check those out if you are curious what I used. But the technique I decided to use when pouring them in was I just decided to pour a little bit of one color, pour a little bit of the other color, and I just was hoping they would kind of blend. I didn't want one uniform color. I just wanted a little bit of a variation. And so I poured them in, and then I kind of really lightly stirred them with a stick, and I didn't want to mix the colors. The only stirring I did was just to bring one color up and drag another color around until I got it about how I wanted it to look. So this is all just personal preference. But that's what we came up with, and I think it turned out pretty cool. So here we have the one that I hand cut and then used carving tools and burned. So that's one way you can do it. And here is the one we cut out with the CNC, and we filled it with epoxy, and we used the gold epoxy and that white epoxy. Both have a metallic flake in it. Was going for something just kind of a little more neutral, rustic looking on both of these. And so this is what we came up with. One thing you could do if you were making something like this, you might want to drill a hole in the top, run a fishing line through, tie it up so you can hang these on the tree easily. This one is not quite dry, so I'm going to have to lay it back flat or all this epoxy is going to sag out, but it is dry enough for me to show you how it was done. So hopefully this helped give you some ideas on ways to work and show you. The main thing I wanted to show you was that there's more than one way to do something. Now this one I couldn't quite get the nice detail on the inside, but there is other things you can do with this. I could have drizzled this with epoxy, let it run over the edge, and had a similar color scheme with a lot different look. I just opted to try the carving tools. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thanks again for watching. Check these videos out on the next screen.